Parents are generally faced with increased financial pressures at this time of the year as children go back to school. For many, though, things like school fees may be simply unaffordable, and it continues to put pressure on their pockets. Well, let's speak to education specialist Dr. David Makova on this issue. Dr. Makova, it's certainly no surprise. You know, we have long seen the complaints around the escalating costs of education. It's not just about paying for school fees, but there's uniforms that are on the increase, there's school books, there's textbooks, there's stationery that has to be taken into account there. What are parents really sitting with, given the fact that this is the first year in 2 years that we go back to school and there seems to be a lot more relaxed restrictions and things are feeling a lot like they used to?
Kathy, thank you very much for having me. Thank you to the listeners for taking this time out. It's really a very, very difficult situation when, as a parent, you'd like to provide for your child and you're struggling to provide for them. And that's really at the heart of the issue we're confronting at this particular point in time. But having gone through this experience as a parent myself, where my child's school was struggling, what we've learned from that is we really need to keep lines of communication open. So this can be a very, very emotional time for parents. In part, sometimes we accuse the schools of charging too much, and then the schools counter and say, we've got all these costs we need to make sure we pay for. How do we keep the dialogue going so that we look after our children and we meet each other halfway? And that's really at the crux of it. We have to make some tough decisions as parents, as the school itself, and meet each other halfway for the benefit of our kids.
It's quite concerning when we look at the latest figures and really just talks to the challenges that schools face. And the collection of school fees is a big issue. And you've mentioned the issue of costs. You know, running a school requires a lot of money. It's a capital intensive operation, and you don't always get what you put in out, except by virtue of contributing to a generation of people that will be part of and contribute to society.
Absolutely. So these schools have got a combination of what we call fixed costs and variable costs. So the fixed costs are the costs they're going to have on a monthly basis, and there's not much they can do about those fixed costs in the short term. But they've also got variable costs, and variable costs relate to some of the extracurricular activities, some of the additional staff members they may have. And really the opportunity to sometimes mitigate some of the financial burdens is on the variable cost aspect. But that comes with the dialogue with those staff members involved, with the parents involved, and with all the other stakeholders that are involved as well. From the parent side, it's very, very important for us to remember that even from a parent's perspective, what the past 2 years have meant is sometimes as a parent, I've been paying school fees, but I also have to pay more at home because I need my helper for longer because these kids aren't at school. So I've actually had higher costs as a result of that. And these are really the tough conversations that we need to have as the parents and the parent associations together with the schooling body to say the limitations in both our finances. What can we prioritize? What can we cut back on in the interim period? But this is our children's lives. How can we keep hope alive so that when things turn around and become a bit better, we still have a robust, sustainable school situation where we can go back to pre-COVID and offer quality education and offer quality services. But we've got to strip the emotion out, have the difficult conversations, and all of us, the school staff members, the parents, need to be prepared to make sacrifices of sorts.
Listening to some of those considerations that would be on the table, it sounds to me that schools are very much going to continue to become the platform on which the inequality in our country is exacerbated.
It's a sad observation, but it's actually very, very true and very, very correct. So obviously our wealthier counterparts, our wealthier countrymen and countrywomen, they're in a better position to address some of these challenges. But the majority of the country who don't have as much financial resources. The truth of the matter and the fact of the matter is those schools and those kids are going to be compromised a lot more. And that is, it's an unfortunate, it's a tragic part of life, but it's something that we're going to have to try and address in a way that's not emotional and say, what's the best we can do in light of the fact that the government, in light of the fact that schools, in light of the fact that parents have these financial limitations. What's the best that we can do in the interim? And I keep repeating, to keep hope alive so we navigate this journey, and perhaps 12 or 18 months down the line, we can give our kids the quality of the education and the facilities within the schools that they were enjoying prior to this pandemic taking place.
Dr. David Makova is an education specialist. Thank you for your time tonight.